I should have known something was wrong when I caught Tina smirking at me across my own engagement party. Not the warm, champagne-buzz smile of a best friend celebrating my happiness. This was different, sharper, satisfied, like she knew something I didn't, but I was too caught up in the moment to really notice. Jake had just finished his speech about how we met, and my cheeks hurt from smiling. His arm was warm around my waist as we made our way through the crowd of well-wishers packed into our apartment. To the future Mr. and Mrs. Wheeler. Someone raised a glass, and the room echoed with clinks and cheers. I pressed closer to Jake, breathing in his familiar cologne. After 3 years together, this was everything I'd dreamed of. Talia, Tina's voice cut through the happy haze. Come take photos with your maid of honor. She was waving her phone, that same strange smile playing at her lips. Go ahead, Jake murmured, kissing my temple. I need to check something anyway. I watched him slip away toward his office, probably to answer work emails even during our party. Classic Jake, always responsible. It was one of the things I loved about him. Earth to Talia. Tina snapped her fingers in front of my face. Stop making googly eyes at your man and get over here. The photos were awkward. Tina kept repositioning me, critiquing every pose. Your left side is better. No, tilt your chin down. God, can you try to look natural? Since when are you Annie Leibovitz? I laughed, but something felt off. Tina had been acting strange all week, ever since we announced the engagement. Just trying to make sure everything's perfect, she said, scrolling through the shots. These are memories you'll want to keep forever. The way she emphasized forever made my skin prickle. Before I could respond, I noticed Jake emerging from his office. His face had gone pale, and he was holding an envelope I didn't recognize. Jake? I started toward him, but he held up his hand. Don't. His voice was hollow. We need to talk, privately. The party chatter faded as I followed him back to his office. My heart was suddenly hammering against my ribs. This couldn't be what it felt like. This couldn't be happening. Explain these. He thrust the envelope at me. Photos spilled across his desk, old ones, from before we met. Me with my college boyfriend. Nothing scandalous, just normal relationship stuff. I don't understand, I said. Where did these come from? Keep looking. His jaw was clenched tight. The next photos made my blood run cold. They'd been edited, manipulated to show things that never happened. Dates were wrong, faces were blurred, and there was a letter, typed in clean black text, laying out a story that made me sick to my stomach. Jake, these aren't real. Someone's trying to... Stop lying. He yanked off his engagement ring and slammed it on the desk. The party's over. We're over. But I trusted you, Talia. I thought you were different. He pushed past me, leaving me frozen in place. Through the open office door, I could see Tina watching. That smirk was still there, but now I understood what it meant. As Jake's voice rang out, announcing the party was ending, as confused murmurs filled our apartment, as my entire future crumbled around me, one thought crystallized with perfect clarity. My best friend had just destroyed my life, and she'd planned it all along. I picked up the envelope with trembling hands, looking for any clue about its origin. There, in the corner, was a tiny monogram I recognized instantly. The same one Tina used on all her personal stationery. The same one she'd used on my wedding invitation samples just last week. The room spun as pieces clicked into place. The strange comments, the weird smile, the suspicious questions about Jake's past. She hadn't just delivered the killing blow to my relationship. She'd orchestrated it. I sank into Jake's chair, my engagement ring catching the light as I gripped the arms. The diamond he'd chosen so carefully now felt like it was burning my skin. In the other room, I could hear Tina's voice rising above the chaos, playing the concerned friend. Oh my God, what happened? Talia, sweetie, are you okay? I didn't answer. I was too busy staring at the photos, at the careful manipulation of my past, at the calculated destruction of my future. And I was realizing that everything I thought I knew about friendship, love, and trust had been a carefully constructed lie. The question wasn't why anymore. The question was what I was going to do about it. 3 days after my life imploded, I still couldn't bring myself to take down the future Mr. and Mrs. banner hanging in my living room. The metallic letters caught the morning light, mocking me as I sat surrounded by half-packed boxes and empty wine bottles. My phone buzzed again. Tina, 7th message since yesterday. Sweetie, I'm so worried about you. Please let me come over. We can talk about what happened. I hurled the phone across the room, watching it bounce off the couch. The audacity of her pretending to care made me physically sick. Or maybe that was the hangover. The doorbell rang, making me jump. For a terrifying moment, I thought Tina had actually shown up. But when I peered through the peephole, it was Jake, looking as wrecked as I felt. I need my laptop, he said when I opened the door. His eyes wouldn't meet mine. And some other stuff from the office. I stepped aside wordlessly, watching him move through our shared space like a stranger. 3 years of building a life together, reduced to this awkward dance of dividing possessions. Jake, I said as he headed for his office, those photos weren't real. If you'd just let me explain. He spun around, and the raw pain in his eyes stopped me cold. Explain what, Talia? How you've been lying since we met? How everything in that letter was true? What letter? I never even got to read it properly before you. The one detailing how you're still seeing your ex. How you've been playing me this whole time. His voice cracked. Tina showed me the proof. The hotel receipts. The messages. My world tilted sideways. Tina showed you what? He pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages I'd supposedly sent her about secret meetups, about regretting my engagement, about using Jake for his money. Each one perfectly crafted to destroy us. These aren't mine, I whispered. Tina faked them. She's trying to... Stop. Jake ran a hand through his hair. Just stop. You know what hurts most? That you're still lying, that you're trying to blame your best friend instead of owning up to it. Best friend. The term felt like poison now. Did you ever wonder why Tina knew so much about our relationship? I asked quietly. Why she always seemed to be there during our fights. How she always had an opinion about our future. Because she cares about you. Jake grabbed his laptop bag. Unlike you, Tina's been honest with me. She showed me everything, including what you've been saying about me behind my back. I followed him to the door, desperate now. Think about it, Jake. Really think. When did things start getting weird between us? When did the doubt start? He paused, hand on the doorknob. For a moment, I saw uncertainty flicker across his face. Right after Tina's promotion, I pressed, when she started spending more time with you at the office. When she began dropping those little comments about trust and commitment. Don't. His voice was hard again. Don't try to manipulate this. Tina's the only one who's been real with me. The door slammed behind him, leaving me alone with my racing thoughts. I grabbed my laptop, pulling up old emails, text messages, anything I could find. There had to be proof somewhere that Tina had orchestrated this. That's when I saw it. An email from 6 months ago that I'd completely forgotten about. Tina asking to use my phone during lunch because hers was dead. The same day she'd insisted on taking selfies with me, getting my passcode in the process. My hands shook as I dug deeper. More incidents clicked into place. Tina borrowing my laptop to check something quick at work. Her constant questions about Jake's schedule, our date nights, our private moments. She hadn't just destroyed my relationship. She'd been planning it for months, maybe longer, building her case piece by piece, gathering ammunition, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. My screen lit up with another message from her. Heard Jake came by. I know you're hurting, but he deserves better than lies. Let me help you through this. Something snapped inside me. The grief and confusion of the past 3 days crystallized into white-hot rage. I opened my bottom desk drawer, pulling out the stack of wedding magazines Tina had given me. There, tucked between pages of white dresses and flower arrangements, was a photo I'd never noticed before. Tina and Jake at some work event months ago, his hand on her lower back, Her face turned up to his, wearing that same satisfied smirk I'd seen at the engagement party. My hand stopped shaking. My mind cleared. And in that moment, I knew exactly what I had to do. I picked up my phone and typed, "You're right, Tina. I need my best friend right now. Come over tomorrow. We have so much to talk about." I spent 3 hours preparing for Tina's visit, methodically removing every trace of my rage. Hide the wine bottles, wash my face, practice looking broken in the mirror until it was convincing. The perfect victim, exactly what she wanted to see. When the doorbell rang, my hands were steady. Game face on. "Oh, sweetie." Tina's arms wrapped around me, her designer perfume suffocating. "You look awful." "I haven't been sleeping," I mumbled, letting her guide me to the couch. Playing weak while my mind catalogued every detail, the slight tremor in her hands, the way her eyes darted around the room. "I brought wine." She pulled out an expensive bottle. "And chocolate. We'll get through this together." I watched her pour 2 glasses, remembering countless girls' nights just like this. How many of those moments had been real? How many had been reconnaissance missions? "Jake came by yesterday," I said, keeping my voice small. Tina's hand tightened on her glass. "I know. He told me." "You two seem close lately." "We work together, Talia, and he needs support right now." She reached for my hand. "You really hurt him with those messages." "What messages?" "Don't play dumb." Her tone sharpened before smoothing out again. "I saw them myself, the ones about meeting your ex at the Hamilton Hotel." "Gotcha." "That's interesting," I said, taking a slow sip of wine. "Since the Hamilton's been closed for renovations since March." The flicker of panic in her eyes was almost imperceptible. Almost. "Well, whatever hotel it was." "Why did you do it, Tina?" She blinked. "Do what?" "The fake messages, the doctored photos. Was it just about Jake, or did you hate me that much?" "You're not making sense." But her smile was slipping. "The stress is making you paranoid." I pulled out my phone, playing the video I'd recorded yesterday, Jake telling me about the proof Tina had shown him. Her face went pale. "I can explain." "Save it." I stood up, finally letting my rage show. "I trusted you with everything. My passwords, my secrets, my relationship. And you spent months planning to destroy it all." She shot to her feet. "He deserves better than you. You have no idea how hard it's been, watching you take him for granted while I—" She stopped, but it was too late. "While you what?" The pieces clicked into place. "How long have you been in love with him?" "This isn't about that." Her mask cracked completely, revealing something ugly underneath. "You're so wrapped up in your perfect little world. You never see what's right in front of you. Jake and I understand each other. We always have. Because you made sure of it." My voice was ice. "All those late nights at the office, the work emergencies that interrupted our dates, you orchestrated everything." "I didn't have to orchestrate anything." She stepped closer, dropping all pretense. "Jake came to me. He tells me things he never told you. And now that you've shown your true colors, he finally sees who you really are." The slap happened before I realized I'd moved. The sound echoed through the apartment, followed by absolute silence. Tina touched her cheek, eyes wide. Then she smiled, that same satisfied smirk from the party. "Thanks for that. It'll look great in the restraining order." "Get out." "Gladly." She grabbed her purse. "But remember, you have no proof of anything. It's your word against mine. And Jake already knows which one of us he believes." After she left, I sank to the floor, hands shaking as the adrenaline crashed. She was right. I had no real evidence, nothing concrete enough to show Jake the truth. Just my word against the elaborate web of lies she'd spent months weaving. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica, another friend from our circle. "Hey, heard about you and Jake. Can we talk? There's something you should know about Tina." I stared at the message, remembering how Jessica had suddenly distanced herself from our group last year. At the time, Tina had said it was because Jessica was jealous of her promotion. But now, another piece clicked into place. Jessica's abrupt departure. The rumors about her inappropriate behavior at work. The way Tina had managed the whole narrative. I wasn't Tina's first victim. I was just her most ambitious play yet. My fingers flew across the phone screen. Coffee tomorrow? I think we have a lot to talk about. Because Tina was wrong about one thing. I didn't need to prove anything to Jake. I needed to expose her pattern. And Jessica was just the beginning. The game had changed. Tina thought she was destroying me, but she'd actually given me something dangerous. Nothing left to lose. Jessica was already waiting when I arrived at the coffee shop, nervously shredding a napkin into tiny pieces. She looked different from the confident woman I remembered. Smaller somehow, like she'd learned to take up less space. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she said as I sat down. "Tina has a way of isolating people." "I'm starting to understand that." I studied her face. "What happened last year, Jessica?" "Really?" She glanced around before leaning forward. "Promise you won't think I'm crazy. After what I've discovered lately, try me." "Tina systematically destroyed my life." Her voice shook. "It started small. Comments about my work, suggestions to our boss that I was unstable. Then things started going missing from my desk. Important files got corrupted. Emails I never sent were forwarded to clients." My stomach clenched. "And no one believed you. How could they?" She was so careful, always the concerned friend, always there to help when things went wrong. Jessica's laugh was bitter. By the end, I thought I was losing my mind. Maybe I had sent those emails. Maybe I was being paranoid. That's exactly what she said to me yesterday. I pulled out my phone, showing Jessica the video of Jake. Her face went pale. "Oh God, she's doing it again." She grabbed my hand. "Talia, you have to understand. This is just the beginning. She won't stop until she's taken everything." She already has. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true. I still had my job, my other friends, my reputation. "No," Jessica shook her head. "This is just her opening move. Watch. Soon there'll be rumors at work. Your friends will start getting mysterious messages about things you supposedly said. Your entire support system will disappear, piece by piece." My coffee turned cold as Jessica detailed Tina's methodology. The careful isolation, the strategic character assassination, the way she'd position herself as the victim while systematically destroying her target. "Why didn't you fight back?" I asked. "I tried, but she's smart. She never leaves evidence. And the more I protested, the more unstable I looked." Jessica's hands trembled. "In the end, I had to leave town just to rebuild my life. I only came back because I heard about you and Jake. There has to be a way to expose her." "Maybe." Jessica hesitated. "But I should warn you, I'm not the only one. There was someone else before me, a woman named Angela." The name hit me like a punch. "Angela Franklin." "You know her. She's my neighbor. We have coffee sometimes." My mind raced. She never mentioned. She wouldn't. From what I heard, what happened to her was even worse than me. Jessica checked her watch and stood quickly. "I should go. Being seen with me won't help your situation." "Wait," I grabbed her arm. "Help me fight back. You know her playbook. Together we could—" "I can't." Real fear flashed across her face. "I'm sorry, Talia. I'll tell you what I know, but I can't get involved. I can't go through it again." I watched her hurry away, then sat there for a long time processing. Finally, I pulled out my phone and typed a message to Angela. "Need to talk, it's about Tina." The response came immediately. "Come over, use the back door." Angela's apartment was only a block away. She opened the door before I could knock, ushering me inside without a word. The blinds were drawn, despite the afternoon sun. "How much do you know?" she asked, sitting at her kitchen table. "I know what she did to Jessica, and that you were involved somehow." Angela's laugh was hollow. "Involved? I was patient zero, the test run for her little psychological warfare campaign." She pulled out a thick folder. "And I've been waiting 3 years for someone to finally see through her." My hand shook as I opened the folder. Inside were screenshots, diary entries, recorded conversations, a meticulous record of Tina's manipulation tactics. Why didn't you expose her? Because she's got dirt on me too. Real dirt. Angela's eyes hardened. That's her insurance policy. She finds your weakness, your secret shame, and holds it over you while she tears you apart. I don't have any secrets. Everyone has secrets, Talia, and Tina's had access to your entire life for years. She leaned forward. The question is, are you ready to risk everything to stop her? Because that's what it will take. I stared at the evidence in my hands, proof of a pattern I was now part of. Going after Tina meant potentially exposing myself, losing even more than I already had. But staying quiet meant watching her do this to someone else. Tell me everything, I said. Every detail, every tactic, every weakness you've observed, because this ends with me. Angela smiled for the first time. I was hoping you'd say that. Now, let me show you what we're really dealing with. Angela's file on Tina was like reading a psychological horror story, one where I now had a starring role. 3 hours of combing through evidence left me feeling sick, but certain. I knew what I had to do. My phone buzzed. Jake. Can we talk? In person? My heart jumped, but Angela's warnings echoed in my head. Never meet alone, control the environment, stay one step ahead. I suggested the cafe across from my office. Public but quiet, safe. He was already there when I arrived, looking exhausted. The urge to comfort him hit hard. 3 years of muscle memory doesn't fade easily. Instead, I sat across from him, keeping the table between us. You look terrible, I said. Yeah, well. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair. Turns out ending an engagement isn't great for sleep. Funny how that works. Silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken words. Finally, he pulled out his phone. I got this today. He slid it across the table. You should see it. The email was from Tina, of course. More evidence. Photos of me supposedly entering my ex's apartment building last week. Except I recognized the outfit I was wearing. It was from 6 months ago, when I'd helped Tina move. She's getting sloppy, I said. Jake frowned. What do you mean? Look at the date stamp, then look at my hair. I didn't have highlights 6 months ago. My voice was steady. She edited these, Jake, just like she edited everything else. Talia. No, let me finish. You want to know where I really was last week? Ask Drew. You know, your lawyer friend. We had coffee. Interesting conversation, actually. About digital forensics. The color drained from his face. You went to Drew? I had to, because while you've been believing Tina's lies, I've been gathering proof. I pulled out my own phone. Want to see the metadata on those hotel receipts she showed you? The ones that don't match any actual charges on my credit card? Stop. He pressed his fingers to his temples. Just stop. I can't handle more lies. That's the problem, Jake. You've been handling lies for months. They just weren't coming from me. His phone buzzed, then mine. We both looked down to see the same message from Tina. Everything okay? Need me to come by? She's watching us, I said quietly. Probably from the coffee shop next door. She always has to control the narrative. Jake's head snapped up, scanning the windows. I saw the moment doubt finally cracked his certainty. Why would she... He swallowed hard. Why would she do this? Because she wants you. Has for years, apparently. And she knew the only way to get you was to destroy your trust in me first. That's crazy. Tina's not. Ask Jessica. I cut him off. Or Angela Franklin. Or any of the other people she's systematically destroyed. There's a pattern, Jake. I'm just the latest version. His phone buzzed again. And again. Tina getting nervous. I have to go, he said, standing abruptly. I need to think. Jake. I caught his arm. Whatever you do, don't confront her yet. She's got contingency plans. Trust me, you don't want to trigger them. He stared at me for a long moment. How did we get here, Talia? How did everything get so twisted? Ask your concerned friend. I let go of his arm. But do it carefully, because right now she still thinks she's winning. I watched him leave. counting to 60 before gathering my things. Right on cue, Tina emerged from the neighboring coffee shop, pretending to be surprised as she accidentally ran into Jake. My phone lit up with a message from Angela. "Drew found something. Come now." I took the long way to Angela's apartment, checking repeatedly for tails. Paranoid? Maybe. But after reading that file, paranoia felt like survival. Drew was waiting with Angela, his lawyer face on. "You're not going to like this." "When do I like anything lately?" "Tina's been busy." He spread documents across the table. "She's been laying groundwork at your company, setting up a harassment narrative, building a case that you're unstable." My stomach dropped. "She's going after my job." "More than that." Angela pointed to an email. "Look who she's CC'd on these complaints." The names were like body blows. My boss, HR, the board of directors, even my professional licensing board. "She's not just trying to get you fired," Drew said quietly. "She's trying to make sure you never work in this industry again." I sank into a chair, the full weight of what I was facing finally hitting me. Tina wasn't just taking Jake. She was trying to erase my entire life. "So what do we do?" I asked. Drew's smile was grim. "We go nuclear. But first, you need to decide how much you're willing to lose. Because once we start this, there's no going back." I thought of Jake's confused face, of Jessica's fear, of Angela's 3 years of silent documentation. "Everything," I said. "I'll risk everything. Let's end her." Drew's nuclear option turned my apartment into a war room. Laptops, documents, and empty coffee cups covered every surface as we built our case. Angela worked her tech magic, while Drew made calls to former colleagues of Tina's. "Got it!" Angela's triumphant shout broke the focused silence. "Finally cracked her cloud backup." I rushed to her screen, heart pounding. "Show me. Folders for everyone." She scrolled through directories. "Jessica, me, you..." "Wait." She stopped. "There's one called contingency." The file contents made my blood run cold. Doctored photos of me, not just with my ex, but with other men. Fake emails, bank statements showing non-existent transfers, even medical records, altered to suggest psychological issues. "She's been planning this for over a year," Drew said quietly, "building a backup plan in case you ever caught on." My hands shook as I read. Some of these dates. This started before Jake even proposed. "Classic Tina," Angela muttered. "She doesn't just destroy lives. She builds insurance policies." My phone buzzed. A text from Jake. "Need to talk. Important." "Don't," Angela warned. "It's probably a trap." But I was already typing. "Where?" "The park, our bench, 30 minutes. Drew grabbed my arm. "Talia, think about this. We're so close to having everything we need." He said important. I grabbed my jacket. "And I need to know if he's figured it out." "Then I'm coming with you," Angela said. "I'll stay back, but you're not facing this alone." The park was quiet this late. Jake sat hunched on our bench, the one where he'd proposed 6 months ago. Angela melted into the shadows of a nearby coffee shop as I approached. "Hey," I said softly. He looked up, eyes red. "I talked to Jessica." My heart stopped. "And?" "She told me everything. About what Tina did to her. About..." He swallowed hard. "About how similar it was to what's happening now." I sat beside him, careful to maintain distance. "Do you believe her?" "I don't know what to believe anymore." He pulled out his phone. "But I found something. In Tina's desk at work." The image on his screen was like a punch to the gut. Tina and Jake at dinner, looking intimate. The date stamp was from 2 months ago. A night Jake had said he was working late. "I can explain," he started. "Don't." My voice cracked. "Just don't." Nothing happened. She said she needed advice about her promotion. But now, looking back, he ran his hands through his hair. God, I was so stupid. We both were. His phone lit up. Tina again. Always Tina. "She knows I'm here," he said. "She's been texting non-stop, warning me that you're unstable." that you're going to try to manipulate me. And what do you think? I think, he met my eyes, I think I need to show you something else. He pulled up his email, showing me a draft Tina had accidentally sent him instead of saving, a detailed plan for what she called Phase 3. My hands trembled as I read. It wasn't just about destroying my relationship or career. She was planning to frame me for financial fraud at work, using access to accounts I didn't even know she had. Jake, I whispered, when did you find this? Yesterday. I've been gathering more evidence since then. Recordings, emails, everything I could find. His voice hardened. She's not just going to destroy your life, she's planning to have you arrested. A twig snapped behind us. We both turned to see Tina standing there, her face twisted with rage. I knew you'd try this, she spat, turning him against me with your lies. Game's over, Tina. Jake stood. I know everything. Really? Her laugh was ugly. Check your email, Jake. Check what your unstable ex has been up to. My phone exploded with notifications. Email after email, supposedly from me, launching out to everyone I knew. Confessions of fraud, admissions of affairs, evidence of mental instability. That's what happens, Tina said coldly, when you share your passwords with your best friend. But for the first time, I smiled. Actually, that's what happens when you take the bait. Angela emerged from the shadows, laptop in hand. Got it all, Drew. Every keystroke logged, every file transfer tracked. She just triggered the trap. Tina's face went white as Drew stepped out too, phone recording everything. You really should check who sets up your company's IT security, Angela said. Oh wait, that's me. Tina turned to run, but stopped short. Jessica stood behind her, phone raised, live streaming everything. My turn, she said quietly. Tina's eyes darted between us, realizing too late that she'd walked into her own perfect trap. You can't prove anything. I stepped forward, finally letting her see my rage. Watch me. The next 12 hours moved like a fever dream. Drew orchestrated everything, turning Tina's own meticulous planning against her. Every fake email she'd just triggered became evidence. Every manipulated photo became proof of her methods. The trap hadn't just caught her, it had exposed her entire operation. I sat in Drew's office, watching the dominoes fall through his wall of screens. HR emails, police reports, board meetings convened at emergency hours. They're suspending her, Drew announced, hanging up his phone. Pending full investigation, the board is less than pleased about potential liability. My hands shook around my coffee cup. What about the others? Jessica's already given her statement. Angela's evidence is being processed. 3 more victims have come forward. He smiled grimly. Your friend Tina's been busy. She's not my friend. The words tasted bitter. She never was. My phone lit up. Jake. Again. I'd been avoiding his calls since the park, not ready to face what came next. You should talk to him, Drew said softly. I can't. Not yet. I stood, needing to move. I have to do something else first. Talia, I need to see her, face to face, before everything crashes down. Drew sighed. That's a bad idea. Probably. I grabbed my coat. But it's my idea. I found Tina in her office, frantically shoving things into boxes. The suspension notice sat crumpled on her desk. Here to gloat. She didn't look up. Here to understand. I closed the door. Was any of it real? Our friendship? All those years? Oh, spare me the emotional closure. She slammed a drawer. You won. Congratulations. You destroyed everything I built. Everything you stole, you mean? Stole? Now she looked at me, eyes blazing. I earned everything I have. While you coasted through life on charm and luck, I had to fight for every scrap. By destroying other people? By being smarter? Better? Her smile was razor-sharp. Face it, Talia. If I hadn't made a play for Jake, you'd still be drifting through your comfortable little life, never knowing how weak you really are. You're right. That stopped her. What? I was comfortable, safe. I trusted people, maybe too easily. I stepped closer. But you taught me something important, Tina. You taught me how to fight back. Please. She waved dismissively. You got lucky. Had help. Yes, I did. From people you hurt. People you thought you'd broken. My voice hardened. That's your real mistake. You never considered we might find each other. Compare notes. Build something stronger than your lies. Her facade cracked just slightly. It won't stick. Any of it. I've got contingencies. Check your cloud storage lately. The color drained from her face. Angela says hi, by the way. She's really good at what she does. Better than you ever gave her credit for. Tina's hands trembled as she grabbed her phone, trying to access accounts that no longer existed. This isn't possible. Funny thing about digital footprints, they never really disappear. Every fake email, every doctored photo, every single person you've targeted. I placed a USB drive on her desk. It's all there. And as we speak, it's being reviewed by the board, the police, and every person you've ever tried to destroy. She lunged for the drive. I caught her wrist. That's a copy, I said quietly. The originals are everywhere. You taught me about contingency plans, remember? The mask finally shattered completely. I saw the real Tina, terrified, desperate, alone. I'll tell them about Jake, she hissed. About the night The night you got him drunk and tried to kiss him. The night he pushed you away and left. I released her wrist. He told me everything. 2 days ago. No more secrets, Tina. No more leverage. She sank into her chair, defeated. What do you want? Nothing. It's not about want anymore. I headed for the door. It's about consequences. Something you should have considered before you started breaking people. Talia. Her voice cracked. Please, I'll lose everything. I turned back one last time, seeing the friend I'd once loved, the enemy she'd become, the wreck she'd made of herself. No, Tina. You already lost everything. You just didn't know it until now. I walked out of her office, out of the building, into the bright afternoon sun. My phone buzzed again. Jake. This time I answered. Hey, he said softly. Hey. Can we talk? Really talk? I thought about trust, about betrayal, about the person I'd become through all of this. Yes, I said, but not about getting back together, about moving forward. Because that's what survivors do. We move forward, carrying our scars, but never letting them define us. And Tina, she taught me that too, in her way, just not the lesson she intended. The morning sun streamed through Angela's windows as our unlikely family gathered for what had become a weekly tradition. Jessica brought bagels, Drew supplied coffee, and I watched them all with a strange mix of gratitude and lingering disbelief. Check this out, Angela said, sliding her tablet across the table. The headline made me catch my breath. Tech executive faces criminal charges in corporate espionage case. They actually did it, Jessica whispered. They're really prosecuting her. I skimmed the article, noting how carefully it avoided naming Tina's victims. We'd all chosen to stay anonymous, letting the evidence speak for itself. It felt right somehow, denying her the personal drama she'd always craved. There's more, Drew said, pulling out a folder. The board wants to make restitution. To all of you. Jessica's hands shook as she read the settlement offer. I could start my own consulting firm. They're terrified of a lawsuit, Angela explained. And they should be. Their security protocols allowed this to happen. I pushed the papers away. I don't want their money. Talia, Drew started. No, listen, I want something else. I pulled out my own folder, the proposal I'd spent weeks crafting. I want them to fund this instead. They leaned in as I explained. A program to help victims of workplace harassment and manipulation. Legal support, technical assistance, counseling, everything we'd had to piece together ourselves. Using Tina's own tactics against her wasn't enough, I said. We need to build something that stops the next Tina before she starts. It's brilliant, Angela breathed, using their guilt to create actual change. Count me in. Jessica said immediately. I can help build the technical framework. And I'll handle the legal side, Drew added. My phone buzzed, a text from Jake. We'd been talking more lately, but not about reconciliation, about healing, about moving forward separately but not as enemies. Go ahead, Angela nudged me. We've got this. I stepped onto the balcony, letting the morning air clear my head before calling him. Hey, he said. You okay? I saw the news. Yeah. Actually, I really am. I watched a bird land on the railing. How are you holding up? Better. Started therapy last week, trying to understand why I was so easily... He trailed off. Manipulated, I supplied. Join the club. That's actually why I called. I want to help with your program. Not directly. We probably shouldn't work together. But I can advocate from the corporate side. Help other companies spot the warning signs. Something tight in my chest finally loosened. I'd like that. Back inside, the others were already deep in planning mode. Jessica's confidence grew stronger every day. Angela's walls had softened. Even Drew smiled more. My phone buzzed again, an email notification from Tina. Everyone froze as I opened it. I know what you're building, she'd written. You think you're so much better than me, playing savior. But we both know the truth. I made you who you are. Everything you're doing is because of me. You'll never be free of that. I felt the old anger rise, then fade, because she was right, in a way, and completely wrong in all the ways that mattered. What are you going to do? Jessica asked softly. I deleted the email without responding. Nothing. She doesn't get to be part of the story anymore. Angela raised her coffee cup. To writing our own endings. No, I corrected, looking at these people who'd become more than friends, who'd become proof that something beautiful could grow from broken trust. To writing our own beginnings. We clinked cups, and I felt the last piece click into place. Tina had tried to isolate us, but instead, she'd created something stronger than her lies. A network of survivors who refused to be victims. The morning sun caught my empty ring finger as I reached for more coffee. The tan line had finally faded, leaving unmarked skin, ready for whatever came next. Not an ending at all, I realized, just the first chapter of something better. Because that's the thing about people like Tina. They think breaking someone is the same as defeating them. They never expect their victims to find each other, to build something stronger from the pieces. They never expect us to thrive. But we do. Oh, how we do.